Alright, let's get right to it. We're in Avodah Zarah, Daf Mem Ches, that's 48. 48 days where we're starting, of course, and we're starting once again with a Mishnah. So it's a pretty good place to start. It won't be too confusing. And the Mishnah is again following a similar pattern that we've had with previous Mishnayos in this chapter, in this parak. So Shlosh Asheros saying there are three types of Asherah. Asherah is a word you see often in the Bible. All throughout the Bible you see this word, and the way that it's understood based in the context of Scripture, particularly because it says you should not plant an Asherah, is that it's a tree that's planted for the purpose of idolatrous worship. And of course we know a lot of things we're talking about here in Masechtas Avodah Zarah, especially in this chapter, is bittul Avodah Zarah, is nullifying something that was once worshipped by a pagan, by a non-Jewish pagan, that if a non-Jew declares this item to no longer be an idol, so then we are allowed to use it because it becomes a secular item. It's no longer devoted to pagan worship. However, excuse me, as we've said before, if a Jew owns the idol, it can never be nullified. The Jew does not have the power to nullify an idol, according to how we generally understand it. Only a non-Jew has the ability to nullify an idol. Excuse me. So, vis-a-vis the laws of nullification, there are three categories when it comes to the Asherah, the tree that was worshipped, and generally we understand it to mean a tree that was set aside for worship from the point that it was planted. So, however, there may be other types of Asherah as well. And so that's what the Mishnah is going to discuss. So it says there are three types of Asherah, three types of idolatrous trees. The first one is Ilon Shnatim B'chila B'Shem Akim Harizu Asura. The first type is the regular Asherah that's planted for the sake of worship, that's planted to be worshipped. And the pagan who's planting it has in mind, when he or she plants it, that this is to be worshipped. That type of Asherah can only become nullified if a Gentile comes along and nullifies it. And under other circumstances, there is no bittul. The Jew has no power to nullify the first type, which was planted for the sake of idolatry. The second type, Gidai Fisloi, L'Shem Akum V'Hechlif. We have the second type of tree is the tree that was already planted without any intent of idolatry, and then a pagan comes along and prunes the tree. Now it doesn't matter if the pagan is a Gentile pagan or a Yisrael Mummer of who we call a former Jew but non-Gentile, is the way I usually describe it. If it was pruned, it was already planted without any special intent, or grew on its own, and then someone came along and pruned it with an intent of worshiping it because it was pruned. The hechlif, meaning not only that it was pruned, but the branches that were cut off were cut off, and then you have new branches that grew because it was pruned. So now you have new branches there, and if a Jew wants to have hanoah, he wants to have benefit from this, he doesn't have to cut down the whole tree, only noitel masha hechlef. Meaning, if the tree was initially planted in a kosher way, and then it was pruned,
GPS
so
signal
that
lost.
whatever grew subsequently after the pruning, those are the only portions that have to be removed, and those you cannot have any benefit from. Those have to be destroyed. But the rest of the tree can be used for, personal purposes. You want to build your house, whatever. And the third type of Asherah is hemid tachteha akum v'natla harizah b'teres. That if the tree was never worshipped, rather they placed an idol under the tree. As soon as the idol is removed, you're allowed to have benefit from the tree. Obviously, the idol remains prohibited, and it would seem as long as the idol is under the tree remains prohibited. Since the idol is removed, once the idol is removed, then it has nothing to do with the tree. Again, we're talking in this case of a tree that was planted or grew on its own, either grew on its own or was planted without any specific intent, and then it would seem that the tree was being worshipped once that not only the idol under the tree was worshipped, but the tree itself was also being worshipped. But because the tree existed before it was worshipped, and there was no intent in worshiping the tree when it was planted, so then it does not become, the tree is only prohibited as long as it's being worshipped, and once it's stopping being worshipped and the idol is removed from under it, so the removal of the idol would be the bittul, would be the nullification of the rest of the tree. So too would seem the one with the branches, with the new branches. As long as those new branches are still attached to the tree, it would seem there is a prohibition of the rest of the tree until those new branches are removed. But then but once those new branches are removed, even by a Jew, there is no further need to be mevatel it. As far as the tree that was initially planted for the sake of idolatry, only a Gentile can be mevatel that, can nullify that. Obviously, the branches that are cut off, if the Gentile would nullify the branches, or the idol that was under the tree was nullified by a Gentile, then again it would also be permitted. So the Gemara, this is the issue of the tree that was pruned, the second case. This term of pruning also seems to indicate not only that it's pruned just to help the existing branches grow better, but that there was a morkov. I forget, how do you say this in English? There's a fancy word in English to describe morkov. I mean, it's literally meaning like it's riding on it, but it's a tree where you transplant branches. Like if you cut off a branch from one tree and you attach it to the tree, to another tree, and then it's kind of like it's a transplant, and it you wrap it up together, and eventually that branch starts to grow again. It's a way, like for example, a lot of seedless fruits are cultivated through this method. I don't remember what the English word is right now, and I I make these videos without really much advanced preparation. I've learned this in the past, but I really should have understand. V'hirkev, so shehirich, v'hirkev. So begufei shel ilan. That is a branch from another tree was attached onto this tree. Now, Gemara asks, is that really what the Mishnah is talking about? Because we're talking about pruning to the point where you're removing things that you don't want to be on the tree, not adding new parts to the tree. And that's what the Mishnah says. Eliki itmar devei Rabbi Yanai, itmar de Rabbi Yanai le'inyan bittul itmar. So rather, when we're talking about this issue of how it's prohibited and so forth, we're discussing essentially how to be mevatel, how to nullify. If you remove that which was removed, you remove that which grew, new stuff that grew, so that's good enough. The Mo the same. So what are we talking about here? Kaven the hivrich v'hirkev v'gufei shel ilan kludetoy mitchila dami. So if you don't remember the fancy English word for this, you grafted. That's the word. If you grafted onto the tree a branch, it's like you planted a new tree, just like the Asherah. That's a kula. So it's not only, you would think that grafting would prohibit the entire tree. Kamash Malan. So that's why the Mishnah has to explain to us, no, even if you grafted new branches on, only the parts that were grafted on would have to be removed. And not the whole tree. Amar Shmuel said, Mishtach v'le'ilan tisvisa asura. Again, what if we have this case of the tree that's already it's already there, and someone worshipped the tree. 9E is where we have to go. Okay, sorry. So tisvisa asura, anything that was added to it, anything that grew after it was worshipped, becomes prohibited. Masav Eliezer asks a question about this. He has a little argument. The Mishnah says that the tree was pruned, and then whatever was added to it is removed. So that should be okay. But what if it wasn't pruned? No action was taken on the tree, meaning in the case of pruning, and there was an action that was done to the tree for the sake of worshipping the tree, so then anything that grew after the pruning should be prohibited. As far as if the tree was worshipped without any action being taken on the tree, and something new grew on it after it was worshipped, is that enough of a change, essentially, to say that now we have to, whatever grew afterwards, even if there was no pruning done, meaning whatever was, but whatever new branches grew after it was worshipped, would those become prohibited? So according to this, then no. According to Shmuel, the new branches, even if no action was taken, would be prohibited. And according to Eliezer, they would not be prohibited. Like Amar lach Shmuel, so Shmuel answered this kasha. Let's just put this up and make sure it gets properly registered on the thing, on the Easy Pass. Hamani, whose opinion is this in our Mishnah Rabbanan? It's the opinion of the rabbis of Shmuel. So Shmuel, who holds that anything that grew after the tree was worshipped, even if meaning the tree was not originally planted to be worshipped. So generally speaking, we would say that it doesn't become prohibited. And if no action was taken to the tree, according to the opinion that we first see, the tree would be permitted to use. However, according to Shmuel, the tree would be prohibited until anything new that grew, even if no action was done to make it grow, and even if it wasn't grafted. Now I'm going to know people really watching these videos when I see grafted in my comments below, and then they'll say, watch the rest of the video. But so Shmuel the Amar Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda the Amar Ilan Shnat Musay Avodah Zarah. Shmuel is holding like Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda, who holds that the tree, since there's tfisas yad adam on the tree, a person has the ability to cut down a tree, to uproot a tree, and so forth. That if a tree, which we don't have tfisas yad adam on a mountain, so that's why we say the mountains are not prohibited. But then the Mishnah is saying no, that the tree is just like a mountain. That only the things that are added to the tree becomes prohibited, but not the tree itself, unless the only reason why an Asherah tree is prohibited, totally prohibited, is if the tree was made as an Asherah from the beginning when it was planted. So Maskefler Rav Ashi is arguing against this idea that Shmuel is following Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda, and the Mishnah is following the Rabbanan. So Maskefler Rav Ashi Memai the Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda v'Rabbanan b'Tosefes Pligi. Where do we derive the Yossi bar Yehuda is arguing with the rabbis on something that was added to the tree? Maybe they're arguing totally about the tree. Dilma Tosefes l'divrei kol aser. Maybe everyone agrees that the things that were added to the tree are prohibited. And the only argument is with the actual main roots of the tree. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda savar ikrei nami aser, because Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda holds that if the tree is worshipped, even the roots itself, the whole tree from the roots up, are prohibited. Because it says you should burn their asherahs in fire. Let's see. We want to go to 9e, not just 9, right? Still 3 miles away from 9e. So, Rabbanan Savri, the rabbis hold Iker Ilan Shari, that the root of the tree remains prohibited. Because because it says that the Asherah trees, the pagan trees, should be cut down. Doesn't. So Eza hu ilan shgedula also v'kuri sharei. V'yayme ilan shenatl b'seif avodah. Chitema ha loy b'tar b'tzinan hachi. Way I wanted to go, was it? Confused here. Let's look at the map. So I don't want to be late for this wedding. Oh, now it says 7A. Probably stop this video and figure out where I'm going. Open up the map. Alright, so let's just go back to our Daf, finish the Amud, and then we'll just finish this Amud. Even this we can hide. Maskif. Alright. So, what type of tree is that which is cut down prohibited and that which is the roots are permitted? Alright, we said this already. A tree that was planted and was subsequently worshipped. So you say, is this not what we're talking about here? Eipuch Rabbanan the Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda Rabban Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda Rabbanan. So they're both arguing the opposite. We could have the opposite. Mkain Gidai Fisley, if it was cut down or if it was if it was pruned, Makatanila. What are we learning here? Lay Rabbanan, not the rabbis. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, not Rabbi Yosef Yehuda. Rabbanan Lay Gidal Fisley Nami Teisefis Asura. Because according to the rabbis, even without pruning, it would be prohibited anything that's added. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda Iker Nami also, but according to Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, even the root is prohibited, so we have problems either way. Boy Seima, if you want to say Rabbanan, Boy Seima, Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, Boy Seima, Rabbi Yosef Ben Yehuda, Ben Rabbi Yehuda, Yichikamar, Yosef Bar Yehuda, Beloi, Gidai Fislai, Iker Ilan Aser. So we're going to say like Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, even if he didn't prune it, then the roots should be prohibited. Mistama, it would seem. Aval Gidai Fislai Galiadate Derak Teisefis Nichalei. But by pruning it, he's showing that all he cares about is what was added to it. That's the difference. Whereas otherwise, the whole tree is worshipped. Maybe the rabbis want to say like this: if it's being pruned, that shows that he needs it like this. So you might think to say, you might think once some action was done with the actual body of the tree, so then even the roots become prohibited. So we show that's not the case. Alright, we're going to stop here, and then, because we know we stopped by a Mishnah, we're going to try to figure out where the hell